Hey there, it's Laura here from makingcardsisdone.com, and today I'm here with a new card using some Winnie and Walter goodies. So let's get started with this project. So I'm starting out with my mini Misty tool, and I'll be stamping a frame from the framed stamp set from Winnie and Walter. So I'll be using my mini Misty tool to stamp this image onto some Copic-friendly cardstock. You could also just use an acrylic block or a Fiskars stamp press, whatever works best for you. So I'm going to position that stamp, and then I picked it up with my Misty tool, and here I'm inking my stamp up with some Memento Tuxedo black ink, since this works really well with the Copic markers. So I'm just going to stamp this image, and then I'll be coloring this image with my Copic markers. So first I am adding a layer of the colorless blender just to make sure that all of my colors will blend really nicely and really smooth. And then I'm going in with my darkest color, which is BG32. And I'm just adding some shading here and there. So this is just kind of my guide to add my first layer of shading, and then I can just work from there. So then I'm blending that out with the BG11, which is a tiny little bit lighter. And I'm using this feathering motion with my brush marker. And then next I am using the lightest color, which is BG10, to blend it all together. So I repeated this step a couple of times until I was satisfied with this image. So I mostly went back in with the BG11 since I just like that shade the best. And I also added some more of the BG32 later on in the video. So you can repeat this step as many times as you would like. I repeated this step for about 5 times, I think, before I was really satisfied with it. So next I am using Y18, and then I'm using Y13, and then I am blending all of that out with the let's see, the Y00 marker. So this is my favorite combination for yellow markers. And I'm going to be coloring that little bow with RV14 and with RV13. So these colors also work really nice together, and it's just a really fun and easy Copic color or Copic marker combination. So once I finish all of my coloring, I am using the coordinating die to die cut this image. You don't necessarily have to use the coordinating dies because you could also just fuzzy cut these images, but I just love how easy and how fast it is to use a coordinating die. Next, I'm going to stamp some adorable images from the Welcome to the Family stamp set from Winnie and Walter. I decided to use the cat image and the bunny image. So I'm just positioning these onto my Copic-friendly cardstock, and then I'm picking that up with my Misty tool, and then I just stamped these two images with the Memento Tuxedo black ink. And now that I have my images ready, I'm ready to color these. So I'm using the colorless blender again to add some, just to make sure that these colors will move really nicely, and then I used E0000 to add a little bit of pink blush to the inside of those ears from the bunny, and I'm also using NO to add my first layer of shading. It's a really light color, but I wasn't really sure how light it would be. So that's why I started out really light, and then I just layered a little bit of N1 on there to add a tiny little bit shading, and then I blended that out with the NO marker. So this is just some really easy and basic Copic coloring, but I just like to share these tips with you. Then for the cats, I'm starting out with the colorless blender. I'm using that same floral white color for those ears and for the little nose. But I just wanted that a little bit darker, so I went ahead and layered some R11 on there. I didn't show that on the camera, but I used the R11 and I blended that out with the floral white color. Then I'm using N2 to add my first layer of shading. I am using the feathering motion with my brush again. Then I'm using N1, this is my mid-tone, and I'm just also using the feathering technique for my mid-tone color. And then finally, I'm using NO to blend it all out. And I repeated that step a couple of times until I was really satisfied with that image. It's just a lot of trial and error because you have no idea how many times I had to test out this combination. So I just decided to add some stripes to this cat. I'm using the N3 marker to do that, and then I just blended it out a little bit with the N1 markers. So there we have a really cute and simple colored cat. And then I'm using the coordinating dies again to die cut these images. I really like that Winnie and Walter offers these coordinating dies. Like I mentioned before, you don't necessarily need them, but I think it's just really fast to just grab a die and to cut this image out, and you also get this really nice white edge around your image, which is really pretty. So I decided to mix and match some pattern paper today. I am using the Avriel Everyday Collection paper pads, and I am using some dies from Winnie and Walter. These are the Sketchy Thoughts dies, so I'm using that to die cut these little speech bubbles. I'm using some different kind of pattern papers like I mentioned before, and then after I die cut that, I stamped the High Greeting from the Sketchy Thoughts stamp set from Winnie and Walter with some Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and it turned out kind of gray on this pattern paper. Maybe it's because of the texture from the pattern paper. It's like really smooth. So I decided to heat emboss it. So I just stamped over it with the Wow Ultra Sticky ink pad. And then I sprinkled some clear embossing powder from Wow on top of that. And then I heat set it. And then it just turned out a little bit more black. So I think it's just the texture of the pattern paper that just kind of made the ink look rather gray than black, but it turned out really okay by just using clear embossing powder. So it's just a really easy solution. I forgot to turn on my camera, but I die cut this grassy hill using the grassy border die from Lawn Fawn, and I just die cut that out of some pattern paper from Avriel. I think this is like from their pastel paper pads. I just can't recall the name of that collection right now, but I will be sure to link to it in my supply list below, and I will also mention it or in my blog post, so check that out if you want to see what this paper pad is called. Oh, I think it's a Sorbet collection, I think. I'm not entirely sure, but I think this is called the Sorbet collection. So anyway, I pieced together this little scene with some foam adhesive. I'm using these really tiny mini squares. I usually use these larger foam squares, but I had to buy a new pack and they came with like little squares, so I have them next to me right here. And I think they're okay, but the backer sheet doesn't come off that easily, and that kind of bothers me for some reason. So I'll have to find my other foam squares. So I adhered some cute heart pattern paper onto a note card, and as you can see, I adhered another piece of pattern paper first, but I thought that it clashed a little bit with the pattern of the grass, so I decided to use the hearts. Mixing pattern paper can be quite challenging. I think it's really fun. I haven't used pattern paper in a really long time, so I kind of enjoyed mixing and matching different patterns. So finally, I adhere that piece onto my note card, and I'm adding some glitter to my heart with my Wink of Stella glitter pen. And I just really love the shimmer that this pen gives to you, to your little like hearts and stuff like that. And then finally, I'm using a layer of glossy accents just to finish it all off and to get a really nice shine. And of course, I'm also adhering some sequins. This time I am using the Fruit Sorbet sequins from Little Things from Lucy's Cards. And I'm adhering those with my glossy accents. So that's it for this card. Thank you so much, for watching this video and for all of your really nice support. So I hope to be back soon, and yeah, I'll see you later. Bye bye.